At just 17 years old, Cooper Flagg has become a household name amongst basketball fans and circles for the absurd skill set he possesses at such a young age. The Duke commit and former Montverde Academy player has recently made headlines for going toe-to-toe with the best the NBA has to offer while playing for the Team USA select team. His highlights from this Team USA minicamp are incredible, not only considering his age, but the level of basketball he's played up to this point, and his film from his high school games proved equally as insane. After reclassing up a grade to graduate in 2024, Cooper Flagg will be one of the youngest players in college basketball, as well as the youngest player entering the league in the inevitable 2025 NBA draft, which I assume he will be the first overall pick in. But even with his young age, Cooper Flagg is athletic, polished, and poised, and for what I've seen, if he was just 20 years old right now with the exact same skill set he has, I think he'd be an undisputed first overall pick in this year's draft, ahead of Zaccharie Risacher and ahead of Alex Sarr, and his work with the select team proves that. He's listed at 6'9", 205, and as a dominant wing, I think he could even get taller and stronger because he just recently turned 17 in December. And we got to remember here, he doesn't even turn 18 until late December next year, so he's going to be one of the youngest players in college basketball, and he's not even being an adult, probably starting and being Duke's best player. And I think he has a huge unlisted wingspan that I would clock in at well over 7 feet as well. And like I said, he's still super young and has a long way to grow. And it's insane to think that he was the best player in high school basketball at only 16 years old when you think at this point about the sheer volume of guys needing to repeat school years at prep schools to get better recruitment nowadays, and also the talent in general that's coming out of high school basketball. I don't like to make videos or even develop strong opinions on high schoolers or even college guys early on in the season for the most part because of the sheer volatility and what can happen as you transition into college. But with Cooper Flagg, I feel really comfortable making this video and taking my stance now. I would like to put my flag down and say that I really feel strongly about him. And I felt similarly about Victor Wembanyama a few years ago, as well as Luka Doncic coming in from Real Madrid. And so, I'm willing to make these statements because they don't come around very often. And so I would put him in the class with Wemby and Cooper Flagg as high impact right away guys in the league who are absolute phenoms while they're young. And I think Flagg stands as the next iteration of this young phenom, and I almost am ready to lock him in for having an incredible NBA career already. I really can't see him fail, and I continue to be impressed by what he's shown. Cooper Flagg was truly dominant on the offensive end of the floor last year and looked unstoppable even against the top high school prospects in the country. He notably faced off and dominated against guys like AJ Dibansa, Cam Boozer, and VJ Edgecombe multiple times last season and was clearly miles ahead of them. Synergy had Flagg in the 91st percentile for offensive efficiency last year, where he shot 55% from the field and 40% from three. He does a great job of being a game manager and has a demanding presence when the offense runs through him, and it runs through him often. It's even more impressive when you consider the fact that Montverde Academy, as a basketball roster, is basically all high major guys who are looking to prove themselves and get recruited. In his class alone, he played with 6 ESPN Top 100 guys, with 4 of his teammates being in the top 10. And it's insane that even his entire roster across all grade levels are in the ESPN Top 100. Not a single player on Montverde Academy was off the ESPN Top 100, going from the freshmen all the way up to the seniors. And even so, Cooper was the undisputed go-to player on that team. And so whether he's in the post or working around the perimeter, he draws the eyes and the bodies of multiple defenders. And not only that, but at 17 years old, he's a true 3-level scorer. And it's easy to see why he was in the 97th percentile on synergy for isolation scoring, because at his size, having such a high release as he does makes his dribble pull-up nearly unstoppable at the high school level, and it's something I think he's going to carry with him through college and inevitably to the pros. The pull-up reminds me a lot of guys like Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, and Brandon Ingram, where these tall wings really take advantage of their height and the lift they get on jumpers, as well as a high release to make it difficult to block. And Cooper doesn't really need any space to get his jumper off as well, and nails them even with a defender in his landing area. He presents himself as a great movement shooter as well, and he can hit jumpers and adjust his body off of bad passes. He seems undisturbed pretty much by anything when it comes to making tough jumpers, and has a solid arsenal of dribble moves to get to a shot as well. He shoots 55% on guarded jumpers, which only further proves the fact that Cooper Flagg truly does not see a contest. And while he needs a little more polishing when it comes to the fundamentals, I'm sure that he's only 17, so with time, he'll continue to upgrade these and become even more effective when he has more space to work with in college and in the pros. And so I think his finishing package as well might be even more impressive than his work on the perimeter. I think if you put him in the combine right now, he'd probably have one of the highest verticals in the draft class because he catches a ton of air. And he has great finesse moves as well, an excellent pace while driving, and doesn't really let anybody speed him up. He's already great at using dribble moves as well as his body to go by defenders and get himself a good look, and he has a really good post presence, and he's very smart at using fakes at the right time, going up and under, and he has some good hooks as well. This could present some interesting versatility for him if he continues to develop his post work down the line, because he's so great at sealing, and he's obviously going to be 6'10", and potentially growing even further. And so with this much athleticism, he's a monster in transition and hunts down rebounds to get the break going. He really fights for the rebounds and is really quick on the break. He's so fast and uses his vertical as well, and he gets out and runs even if the rebound isn't there, and has a great feel for the game, especially when to leak versus when to crash, and he's a heavy crasher. Even in out-of-bounds sets, he's always a lob threat and muscles his way to a dunk no matter the opposition, and it's actually insane how good he is at finishing, and I keep saying insane because it's really unbelievable how good he was in this senior year, but he's insane at finishing through contact, and he gets a lot of and ones as well, and he's really good at being an off-ball mover and a cutter, and so even when he doesn't have the ball, he draws a lot of attention and can make himself available for a basket. And when you consider the fact that Montverde played him almost as a roamer in zone bubbles a lot, it's even more impressive to consider how well he was coming off cuts and things like that. And so they played him weirdly as a traditional 4, but he still found a way to get downhill often after breaking down a defender with his handle. And I'm really impressed by the sheer will to score this guy has when finishing around the basket, and he really fights through contact. And it makes sense that he shot an amazing 75% at the rim. I really can't wait to see what he ends up doing at Duke, because he was unstoppable as a 16-year-old senior in high school before he even turned 17. He looks like a man amongst boys, but it's crazy because he was born in 2006. And so he's also a decent passer and makes the right read more often than not, and especially at the high school level, it's a struggle deciding whether or not you want to overpower the defender in front of you or give a teammate the opportunity, but his 4 assists per game demonstrate a willingness to get other involved, and he's a great teammate from everything I can see on the court. He was great at going top down and feeding players with post entries, but he was also great on the break like I've been saying. And so with all this in mind, he'll probably be a high volume ball handler and a decision maker for the rest of his basketball career. I really hope, and I don't see why John Shire wouldn't, empower him to make decisions on the ball as soon as he gets to Duke after Team USA. And I'm sure in the NBA he'll have plenty of opportunity to be one of those decision-making Swiss Army knife wings.
At the Basketball Hall of Fame, they get to tour it.
Crusaders 16. Flagg on the curve. I don't know if there's a scouting report long enough. Flagg rises, buries it. McNeely, Queen with the rebound. Up ahead, Flagg left hand.
Decade here in Florida. Lob to the back door and Flagg throws it.
Hey, Danny Hurley is saying he's got to fuel up for his freshman year. Givens got another one.
So believe it or not, Cooper Flagg is just as impressive on the other side of the ball. Opponents shot a mere 29% from the field with him as their primary defender, and he acted as a deterrent for shooters pretty often. Cooper gives great contests and blocks a lot of jumpers with his massive wingspan. Last season he averaged over a steal and a half and 2 blocks per game, and the clips of the blocks are absurd. He'll pin the ball off the glass really often, and he can close the gap on the break quickly. While he is a great perimeter defender, he definitely doesn't sit in a stance and move as quickly laterally as I'd like to see, but his work as a paint protector was amazing in high school. And it was great on the perimeter as well, but I think the paint is really more of his calling card. And so compared to his 75% rim shooting on offense, he held defenders to a measly 35% at the rim. And he's probably switchable 1 through 5 right now, but maybe not entirely at the high major college level because I wouldn't want him against one of the NCAA post-up 5s, but I certainly think he would be competent guarding anybody at the Division I level, and potentially at the NBA level when it's time for the draft. He fights over screens well, and he has solid awareness of where to be and generally has great timing. And what I really love about Cooper Flagg on the defensive end is his motor, and he really never runs out of energy and is always waiting for the right moment to strike on a ball handler or dive for a loose ball. And that's not something you see in an everyday high-level offensive player. He's really strong and sturdy and is always in the fight for rebounds, like I said earlier, and he very rarely gives up on a play, and these are winning tendencies. He's also one of the best players I've seen at jumping passing lanes and gets a lot of steals and easy buckets this way. I also love how he saves the day sometimes and just kind of puts out fires. You know, if there's a problem or a weak point in the rotation, a communication error, what have you, he'll just go ahead and figure it out, which is a really valuable trait. And these are the traits of a great defensive player, and Cooper Flagg displays them to a great degree, and I think he'll be a high-impact defender right away at Duke, and probably as well when he inevitably enters the league.
These are two juggernauts who recruit nationally in high school basketball. Nimble. He's been a highly ranked player since he was a sophomore at Montverde. DeBonsa challenged by McNeely. In and out again. Hammond the rebound.
And they take everyone's best shot.
Shot clock is dark for Ben Hammond in Paul VI. Backing down right at 5'11". Abraham nation. Gibbons with the 6 threes today, now trying to defend.
And confidence. Ibuka Walla, that was altered Scholastic. Marie backing down on Flagg. Cooper.
with his wingspan and his effort. And now his 4th final minute of the 3rd quarter. Here comes DeBonsa. Cam Boozer was 2 of 9 in the first, and now he turned. Now Flagg with the steal.
Harrelson does. Harrelson loses it, tries to fight it back. Cooper Flagg.
Putting 3 in the 4th quarter to help put the game away. Now he's got the assignment on Harris. And Harris in and out from NBA.
Scoring mentality set the tone for Montverde.
Hammond way. Richardson backing down right. Richardson misses. Hood-Shafino and Malik Renew winning it all.
And so I've been giving a lot of praise to him throughout this entire video, but I'm sure you can see why. As a GM, he presents the exact type of player that everybody wants in the modern NBA. He's an athletic, Swiss Army knife wing who can make a difference on both ends of the floor, produce for both himself and others, and has versatility to play literally any position. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but in the past 10 drafts, I'd have him right under Victor Wembanyama as the top prospect, and then maybe even above Luka Doncic as well. because he doesn't really have a lot of holes in his game and is just showing so much at such a young age, and that's really the calling card for these huge players. Like Wembanyama was dominating in the French league. We all knew he had something to him. And Luka was the MVP of the EuroLeague, and those were guys I was super excited about before they even entered their pre-draft year. And I feel the same way about Cooper Flagg. And so without him even entering Duke yet, I'm pretty confident and willing to make a strong stance right now, saying that this guy is the truth. His work with Team USA cemented this opinion for me because he's getting huge milestones and a lot of recognition really early. And I think teams are going to pull some crazy moves to capture the flag because this guy is up next.